When I see those graphics, I know. But no, I just like...
Is a Kickstarted thing.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But sometimes the Kickstarter stuff is awesome.
Yeah, if you're Shovel Knight, but how many Shovel Knights are there?
There's Shovel Knight.
There's 4.
Damn it.
Hey everybody, welcome to Pursuing Pixels. This is episode 12, and my name's Kevin Portelli, and I'm here tonight with DJ Mandolini.
Hello.
And Randall Nolery.
Hey everybody.
How you guys doing tonight?
Awesome.
This is DJ's favorite question here.
Yep.
DJ, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, you guys.
Having a great day, great evening. I just can't help myself. It just rolls off the tongue every time. I can't. I'm trying
rolls
to not
off your
do
tongue and into a pause.
You're just trying to be nice, Kevin.
Yeah, I know.
Don't
I just
let him
can't.
bully you.
I want to know, even though we've already talked a little bit before this, a little behind the curtain here. But
you didn't ask that before, though.
Yeah, you know, I didn't care until we were on the air.
You're on air.
I'm auditioning your replacement, Kevin.
It's hard to find another host, though. Be careful with that one.
Yeah, and they got to edit it too, because
well, that's even harder to find.
Oh well, anyways, we're here to talk about some games instead of talking some shit.
Yeah.
We played a decent amount of games this week. Nothing I sunk my teeth too heavily into, other than something I was playing last week, but I'll get to that later. But I think I speak for everybody when I say that. Yeah. We've all been kind of lightly skimming on some things.
Yeah. A little short turnaround. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Well, I know, Randall, you and I both played a little bit of Membrane.
We did.
Which was on sale recently on the eShop for 9 cents.
Yes. And I marked down from $9.99 to 9 cents. And I think it still is as of today, the 22nd of July.
Yeah, when we're recording anyways. Yeah. But yeah, I picked this up for $1 a while ago for 99 cents.
Yeah.
I got to feel a little gypped here, a little ripped off. But I'll live with it. Still, but this game caught my eye actually right when it was released. It just kind of has like a funky psychedelic,
big time
style to it. It's a 2D puzzle platformer, side scroller, which is always speaking my language. It does have some physics based mechanics to it, which is something that I can find a little bit frustrating. I tend to not like games that have that, but for 99 cents, I just figured, what the hell? Why? I definitely, this game caught my eye. I feel like giving it a chance. So,
totally.
What do you think so far, Randall?
Yeah,
I know you dug into it a little before I did.
Yeah, it's just like it. I don't know. I didn't have a lot of these physics type of games, so it's kind of fun to have the excuse of like, how do I want to approach this level? It gives you that kind of open ended, kind of like playground type of atmosphere where you can do. You can create a platform here or there or however you want to get to the end goal after getting the gems is kind of up to you. So like the main mechanics in this game, you're a little guy that jumps around on this big screen, and you have this gun that can shoot basically platforms, and you can make like
they're like little red
line.
Cubes.
Yeah, like little triangles that like. Pretty rapid fire can make like a long line that you can like walk or jump up onto, kind of making platforms on the fly, or like wholesale like a ladder almost. Like you can make small little ones up a vertical incline to kind of jump up.
Yeah, or you can just fire like straight down into the ground.
Yeah,
and just like shoot yourself like straight up into the air pretty high. But it will like if you get too high, it'll start to get wobbly And again, the physics and gravity and whatnot will just kind of take it down.
Which is kind of interesting, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to make some pretty quick, accurate jumps to. You can do some pretty nuts things, but like you still have to be aware of when things are starting to wobble or topple over, that you need to make a pretty well-timed jump for it to be effective with whatever BS you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and it does allow you. It's not twin stick shooter mechanics, but it allows you to hit one of the shoulder buttons and then like it kind of locks you to standing in place, and you can tweak like the arc of your shot.
Thank
so you can
goodness
like line it up.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's super sensitive. I didn't look into if you can tweak that at all yet. But at least with the Pro controller, it felt pretty sensitive. Like it like would jump really quickly. But I have been noticing my Pro controller has been feeling a little weird, so might be just on my end. But I do have a dusty apartment over here, so
all the Switch controllers are going wonky.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Dang.
It's a bummer. But
so can you shoot as much as you want, or is there any sense of ammo in the game?
You have a limited pool, yeah. So
Yeah.
at the bottom of the screen, there's kind of like a solid like yellow cube. So you shoot these like yellow cubes out that then turn red once they stick to something, and then you can shoot the yellow triangles out to then break those cubes,
Right.
and then replenish your ammo.
Yep.
Once you've like if you get past an obstacle, and if you shoot like the very bottom cube or the side, whatever cube is like connected to the ground or the wall, if you shoot that, it'll break them all and like bring them right back to you. Or I don't know if it brings them right back to you. Sometimes you have to like go collect
They
them.
home to you a little bit, but yeah, you have to kind of be within range for them.
Okay, I was gonna say I didn't
Yeah.
fully understand, because sometimes it seemed like I just sucked them right in, and sometimes it seemed like they would like just sit in like a pool of water.
Right.
But yeah, there'll be like little acid pools that you can't jump in, or that like spikes, like yellow spikes that look like they're spikes that you can't touch, but you can actually just run, jump on them, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the bridges that you make, or like the blocks or platforms you make, they can't touch those spikes. So there'll be like these rotating platforms that you can shoot and have things stick to, and you have to have these big like giant green, like neon green balls on the screen,
Right.
that can break through these neon green walls. The balls break through the walls. And you can
Break
like
the walls down.
you have to
There you
little Jericho. But you have to like kind of make these platforms and have them like scoop the ball up and like launch it through the wall, so that you can then jump through it and collect the little like whatever, the little golden glowing thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of puzzles that kind of amount to that within reason, and it's a lot more difficult than that might sound.
It's really hard. I was like, oh, I'm gonna play a bunch of levels like real quick this morning, because I got called before work today. Like, come in like 2 hours later. We got to have a meeting. Like, but we're running late today. So I was like, oh, I'll play a little more Membrane so I can talk about it on the podcast with Randy.
Yeah.
And I only ended up playing like 2 or 3 more levels, and I'm about like a world and a half through. I think you said you were like same boat.
Yep. In the ear. The ear world.
Yeah, it starts out with like this weird cutscene that's like super like I don't even know how to describe the
It's
style,
super
like, other than like
psychedelic.
but it's
Yeah.
like really it's just this weird like flash animation.
It kind of reminds me of like
thing.
very, very early like MTV videos of them trying to do like animation stuff on a really crappy budget. It's kind of but they're doing it on purpose, I feel like, and it's kind of cool. Like, it sets the tone in a way. It's definitely not a downside for the game. It's unique.
Yeah, it's for sure, but it's definitely different than the game itself. You know, the game is like pretty minimalistic. I don't know, it's pretty abstract in that cartoon segment or whatever too.
Yeah,
but it's just a weird game, but pretty cool. I think it was like a student game that ended up getting picked up and published somehow. I read that somewhere. I don't know that it's true for sure.
No, I think that's right. Yeah. And it's a debut release from this developer. And I think it was like a student game that got published, which is cool.
Yeah.
Another thing that we didn't mention that's kind of a factor with these puzzle levels is there'll be these buttons that you can place your character on that'll rotate like a square, and you can attach your square blocks that are making platforms to that square and then rotate it to either pick up that green ball or pick up yourself to place yourself on like a higher platform or something, or to get past like a pool of liquid that you can't touch, or things like that. Because if you touch the liquid that you can't touch, then all of your blocks go away and you kind of restart the level immediately. So
yeah. And they're all like single screen levels, right? I don't recall any scrolling, at least thus far.
Yeah, thus far.
Maybe as you get further, there'll be like some more fleshed out or longer levels. But they've all been some pretty clever puzzles, and they seem to, like you mentioned before, being like open ended. Like, they're really free form, and and you can because of just the general mechanics of the game, you can really noodle around with it. I was bummed that for whatever reason this game doesn't support the video capture feature.
I know. I tried
the Switch,
that too.
because Yeah, it was like I had something like I can't remember what it was, but like something with like flicking that that huge green neon thing around. It just like it was just crazy how it bounced all over the place, and I was like, oh, that was nuts, and I went to save it, and like this is the perfect game. Like there's just like things like really unexpected happen, but it can be a little frustrating as all these physics games, like I mentioned before, you know, even stuff like that's a little more straightforward, like Little Big Planet and stuff like that even those can be really frustrating to me because like I just want it to feel like when I hit the jump button, I jump and it always feels the same. And like, you know, I want to feel like I have some control over that and I'm not subject to, I was going to say gravity, but I guess you have gravity in other platformers too, but I don't know. It just feels different, but the jumping and everything feels normal in this game. Yeah. Like you don't feel like you have a normal weight to it, but a little stiff, but feels good.
I suppose the downside of these type of physics games is it is a little bit more open-ended in the level design and kind of gameplay design, generally speaking, to allow for maximum creativity means maybe the levels are a little less like explicitly developed as they might have been for the sake of, you know, jumps that feel good or whatever else.
Yeah, like that. I know what you mean. Like not every puzzle, like you don't get, even though you do feel, you get a good feeling of finishing the level. Yeah. But it's not always that same feeling of like, oh, I outsmarted the game. Right. Well, I mean, it is that feeling too. I don't know how to describe it, but it's like it's not, sometimes you just get lucky. Like, I just kind of like bounced up there. Like the ball bounced off the spike, you know, in a crazy way and then broke through the wall. And like, that wasn't what I planned at all, but it works. I guess I beat the level. Yeah. So, yep. So yeah, but that's no gripe by any means. And like, I think most of the levels again have like two of those little like orb collectibles. Yeah. Those glowing like golden orbs, which are just like either meticulously placed or, you know, just like you got to solve like one little extra jumping puzzle or platform puzzle. And generally I can get one, but there's definitely been levels where I have not been able to get both. I've been able to grab them all so far in the world and a half, but there was one or two that I had to like I had to like rack my brain for a little while. Yeah. But it's definitely a fun pick up and play game, perfect for, you know, playing a level or two at a time. Totally. You know, if you're into that sort of thing, quick, you know, brain teasers, but that are less, you know, again, less explicit puzzles and more like just kind of brain exercises, I guess. Yeah. More than brain teasers. Yeah. But pretty cool game. And again, to bring it up lastly, as always, the soundtrack just has like a cool, chill, you know, electronic, mellow vibe. It's nothing crazy. It's definitely a game that I ended up throwing on a podcast or just kind of, you know, throwing on some Star Trek in the background while I'm playing it handheld. But still a really cool game and a cool vibe overall with the soundtrack. Yeah. Anything more you wanted to add, Randall?
It just can't complain about 9 cents. I mean, that's
yeah, that's nuts. Yeah. And this game, even though we mentioned it's on sale currently while we're recording, and I think for at least a little while longer. Yeah. But it is like a game. Like I said, I got it for $1 probably 3 or 4 months ago. Yeah. It goes on sale all the time for $1, $5, $3, $2. So just keep your eye out. And even at $10 again, I don't think I would be disappointed at $10. No. No. You know, if it was something that I was specifically in the mood for, again, this isn't a game that is always going to speak to me, so I'm definitely glad I grabbed it at a discounted price. But if you're into like 2D physics puzzle games and stuff, and that's sort of your thing, like I said, I get more satisfaction out of solving like something that was explicitly designed to be solved, I guess. Right. But yeah, I don't know. But if this is your sort of thing, I don't think $10 is too much to ask. It's very well made.
It's unique, changes it up a little bit. That's fine. I'm glad it exists.
And it feels good, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that, it has that sense of polish to it.
Yeah, so. It does. Yeah. Especially for a first game from somebody.
Yeah. Yeah, not every indie game, even indie games that I love, you know, they don't all have that sense of polish to them. So. Right. But I don't know, DJ. Since we were gabbing on there, why don't you talk about something you've been playing this week?
Okay. Putting me
don't sound so excited.
I guess I am pretty excited about this game that I just started today. 8-Bit Invaders.
Yeah. What's that about?
It's a real-time strategy game on PS4 and I think also Xbox, but it's a Steam game too, so maybe that's where it started. I didn't do my research.
No worries.
But yeah, I mean, I'm a fan of RTS games. Like I've said before, I'm a big Warcraft 3 and StarCraft fan. And this RTS, works pretty well on a console. I'd say it's got a art style that's kind of maybe like a little Minecrafty, maybe kind of Lego-y. But anytime you create one of your army units, they get assigned to a hotkey. So like square, triangle, or circle. So right away, like if you want to grab all your circle army units, it's like really easy.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's
so
a cool way
there's
of
never
doing
like
something like that.
Yeah, so there's never any one unit like, left by itself that you need to like wrangle.
Right.
It's like, no, everyone's bound to a certain button and you can control everyone.
Yeah, you're not having to make
button.
like those bounding boxes on the fly with a controller.
Right. Yeah, there's none of that.
Can you select multiple at the same time and then tell them all to go to the same place? Or
I mean, I would just grab
just
like
quickly
I would
enough?
just hit like square, go here, then triangle, go here if I
It's
wanted
quick
two
enough
groups.
to-
Oh yeah, it's
okay,
super
cool.
quick. Like it, there's I was expecting it to be a little too complicated, but once I got into the groove of it, I'm just like chaining commands really quickly, just muscle memory, and I don't know, it feels great. Like I'm really getting into this game.
Nice.
okay, I've never even heard of it, so I'm excited to hear
I
about
was
it.
just scrolling through the PlayStation store and I was just like, oh, this looks cool. Like, took a gamble on Bad North regarding like an RTS on a console. It's just like, let me try another one. And like this one is definitely more complicated than Bad North, but like it equally like achievable on console. And yeah, they set up the levels to be kind of, like in other RTS games where it's just like, destroy the enemy base, or just, survive for 20 minutes or something while like waves of armies come at you. Yeah, it feels like I'm just playing like one of those games. I'm just getting the same feeling, and I'm super pumped. Like when you said that you were going to take a little longer before you got out of work and could meet up, I got a little happy to have him.
So it looks like
I'm
it's got
very-
kind of like a sci-fi aesthetic.
Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of like blocky though, the
Yeah.
8-bit kind
like
of thing.
3-dimensional, like
Yeah.
voxel Minecraft, like
Yeah.
Minecraft.
Yeah, like yeah.
Like Minecraft.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd say like levels are like 10 to 20 minutes.
That's not
And I've been it's cool because like if you play on the harder difficulties, you get like additional secondary objectives you can try to go for.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and like if you are able to do those, like you're also like rewarded with new things for the next mission. So it's, I don't know, I'm pumped. I'm a fan.
The mission's
How
not
far?
always just defeat the enemy base. Is it gets a little bit more like in depth than something like that?
Yeah. And like the secondary objectives will be like, reach these points in this amount of time. So,
Okay.
like there's a lot of pressure, like, because I'm trying to clear them going for every secondary objective, and I've had a decent amount of retries. It gets tough.
Yeah.
Which is perfect. I don't know.
For you,
Yeah,
for DJ, the game king or the game champion.
You just whooped me at TumbleSeed, baby.
Yeah, the first time you ever played.
Come on.
How far are you in? Like, how much of this game have you played so far?
So I'm about a quarter of the way. There's like, there are two races. There's the Marines and there's the Cranioids, which is just like the alien race. Every unit is like brain based. So there's 12 missions per campaign, I think. So I'm like
Okay.
halfway through the Marine campaign. So it's like 24 missions, like 10 to 20 minutes per mission. It's a pretty good chunk of game.
Yeah.
Man, I miss playing RTSs. I
Hell
want to
yeah,
play a
man.
console one. I probably wouldn't play a PC one, and that's why it's been so long. But like the fact that there's a couple of different console choices now that seem pretty viable. I need.
Did you grab Bad North? I saw you played the demo.
Yeah.
Did you grab it?
Not quite yet. No, got to wait for another
Right.
super sale. But I'm
Yeah,
definitely
snag it,
going
though.
to be grabbing that.
Yeah, it's super fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I've just been itching for RTSs, and then last night my roommate Mikey, he was he's at his computer that's like behind me, like when I'm at
It's like
in
right
living
behind the
room TV,
couch. Yeah.
and I just hear him boot up, like I can hear the Warcraft 3 like
He was playing StarCraft 2 the other day when we
Yeah.
were over there.
What's he booting Warcraft 3 for when they're remaking
because it's
it?
a great game.
I know, but they're about to release like a whole new shiny version of the same game, right?
Yeah, I think he was just trying to get a reaction out of me. and it worked.
Maybe refamiliarize himself. Maybe he's trying to get you to join in the game.
Yo, he wants me to get World of Warcraft when
boy.
they reboot the original version of it.
Oh, boy.
which is
The vanilla or whatever.
Yeah.
When are they doing that? I thought they already did that.
I think he was telling me that it's going to be after Warcraft 3 Reforged comes out, which is going to be next year. So
We need you to play other video games, though, DJ. That
Nah,
wouldn't happen once you started that.
Had you played it before? Did you get into World of Warcraft?
I've done the demo, but it definitely got to a point where I was starting to feel like unrewarded, unfulfilled. Just like I don't know. It seemed just like a time suck.
Yeah. I spent enough money on video games. I don't need to have another subscription in my life. So,
Yeah. For real. I've always
All right,
avoided MMOs. The closest I get to anything like that will be like Xenoblade or even something like Diablo. Like that's about as close as I get.
Xenoblade.
Yeah.
That's an MMO?
No, it's not an
Oh,
MMO, but it's like a single player like distillation of that same feeling, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that just like general like player progression. I guess it's just like an RPG grind,
Like
but just like
open-ended,
super
yeah.
extended out. Yeah.
Yep.
Open world.
I mean, I have on that note, I have been playing Witcher 3 more. So
Oh,
Nice.
that's true.
I think last week I was saying how I wasn't maybe the biggest fan of the combat, or just I wasn't good at it. And, I think I've gotten the hang of it to a degree, and I'm definitely like getting more and more immersed in this world. Like, I know at first, like I was saying, like, I don't even really care about the story, but it's like
Right.
now I don't just skip through the conversations. It's like, I want to know. Tell me what's going on. I don't know. Like, for some reason, I'm just getting more and more sucked in. And I think part of it is that, I never feel that powerful. Like, so I always feel like I need to take advantage of any opportunity to do these extra quests. Like it seems like a necessary means to the end rather than just like tacked on content,
Yeah.
And I don't know, it seems like they've all got their own unique stories, and it just seems really well fleshed out.
Yeah, it
So,
seems like they balance the game well if you feel compelled to do those side quests to
Yeah,
like stay
yeah.
competitive.
and yeah, when I initially started this, I was just like, okay, I'm just going to go for the fastest way through this and
Right.
just stick to the main campaign. But it's like, no, I want to do it all.
That's sweet.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's good to hear too, and interesting to hear, because usually like I start having fun with these types of games once I like dedicate myself to like just sticking to the main path,
Right.
and then I'm just
really?
like, not getting so bogged down with all this extra stuff.
See, I like getting
that I
bogged
don't
down with the
care.
side quest stuff. I'm that guy with these.
I
type of
used
games.
to be. I really used to be, and I just like now, like I think I mentioned this before on a previous episode, but like with Breath of the Wild and Mario Odyssey, and it was particularly Mario Odyssey, I was just like, I just do what's fun in the game. Like,
Sure.
I was getting a little frustrated with like, there's all these moons and like there's all these random moons that you can just ground pound the ground and they're just there.
Yeah.
You just see, oh, here's a little hump. Here's a little hump. I wonder what's under there.
Yeah.
Another moon, another power moon. So I found that a little frustrating. But then when I thought about it, like, hey, those moons are there for the people who are like the kids playing the game, and they
Totally.
can just collect enough moons to keep progressing through the game.
Yep.
And I don't need to get those, or if I stumble across them, I'll get them. But like, once I decided, like, I don't need to get all 900 moons or however many moons there are.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to do that, and I'll only do what's fun in the game.
Yeah.
You know? And that's it. And pretty much with Breath of the Wild, too, I just kind of... I played that game just to de-stress, and I would look for shrines, and sometimes I'd even be like, oh, it's one of these hard battle shrines. Forget it. I'm leaving this one. I'll come back later.
Totally.
And like, because it's not the mood I'm in. I'm just trying to, you know, if it's a puzzle solvey one, maybe that's cool. But I really, I like that. You know, I usually tend to enjoy finding the focus in those games, but it's cool to hear that this game, makes like a point out of the side content.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think for a while I've been turned off by that idea. I remember I was really into Oblivion and Skyrim and like really going through those games. And I think ever since playing those games, I kind of moved away from that. I was just like, I just want a more condensed experience.
Yeah.
But this is dragging me in the other direction.
Do you think it's just like the way the story's presented, or the production value, or because I did notice when you booted this up the other day, I was over at your place and I saw it was based on a book, which I didn't know.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
The Witcher series. So I wonder if having all that material going in, so, you know, they obviously got to, you know, write the lines and everything, the dialogue and all that, but they have the content, the material, so they have something to base it on. You know what I mean? Like half the battle is already done,
right?
Or at least a portion of the battle.
That's a good point. I think also, like I was saying, I think it makes me feel really unprepared if I don't do a lot of exploring. Like, you know, your weapons, you know, their durability goes down after time, and so, but it's not that common to be able to repair them. So, you know, you got to always make sure you've got enough gear. You know, like, you regain health by eating food, but like, I don't come across a ton of that. Like,
oh, wow.
Unless, well, I've made a point to try to not steal. But maybe I should start stealing. But, well, there was that one time where I think you were watching, Kevin, where we tried to steal and a guard just killed you instantly.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
But
I was still figuring out the controls. Yeah. I just like accidentally attacked him.
So there are immediate consequences.
Yeah, but maybe in areas without guards.
What the fuck are you
doing? Exactly.
Damn.
But yeah, so I think there's, and I guess I'm playing like, there are 4 difficulty levels, I believe, and I'm playing like the second hardest one, so maybe that's part of why I don't feel super prepared, but like, I don't know, it like the exploration feels rewarding. It feels like I'm getting stuff that I need to be able to even beat this game. So
that sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And a lot of game in front of you. And it's, I mean, you're playing the Game of the Year version, so the DLC is like baked into that too.
Yeah, I haven't even accessed that because, well, it tells you like, you know, you should try this content once you reach like this level or something. So
cool. Again, I know you mentioned that, I think, about a previous game, but I like when they give you that little bit of guidance with the DLC, like not just like, again, when I think I said this before too, but when I downloaded the Breath of the Wild DLC, the next time I booted the game, it was just like boom, 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 boom. It's like, holy shit! How do I even get to all that stuff?
Right.
So it was a little overwhelming.
With this, it's not even just the DLC; it's also every single mission. Like, if any mission involves combat in any way, it kind of gives a recommended level.
Oh wow!
So, yeah,
cool. I know we compared this to Assassin's Creed last episode, and I think some of the newer Assassin's Creed games do that as well, so that's kind of interesting.
The one similarity I was noticing in this past week was how when enemies are nearby, you automatically get into like combat stance where you're like automatically circling around and move very slowly, and I don't necessarily want to be engaging these people. I just happen to get too close to them, maybe, and find out they're like too high level for me to fight right now. And so it can be a little difficult to try to like get yourself away from them so you can like disengage from that combat mechanic and just try to leave the area.
So you're not forced into fighting them in that circumstance.
You're not, but like you're
kind of are.
You're like encouraged. They nudge you in that direction.
You can't like hit a run button and just turn the other way. Like you're
it's like
in like a stance, like facing the enemies and like just tiptoeing around.
Yeah, it's like normally when you're out of combat, holding X is the run button, but if you get into that combat mode, the X will do like a roll.
Oh,
so yeah,
okay.
So it's you gotta like roll away,
just doing somersaults through the leaves.
Yeah,
roll away on your belly.
Yeah,
just get out of there.
So
Bob Seger. But yeah, I mean, I'll probably be playing this for a long ass time, but probably won't give updates, constantly. Yeah, just as necessary.
Yeah,
just
if
as
anything comes
necessary.
up.
Let us know what Geralt's up to.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm surprised you remembered that. Good job.
Once you get to the card game stuff, I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
Get into
we
it.
can get into it. I've been playing Gwent with anyone I can.
Because I've heard that's also pretty addicting and pretty good. So.
Oh yeah. I've played quite a few games. It's a pretty simple game. You have 3 types of unit cards. You have like close combat, ranged, and siege, and they all have a certain power level.
Okay.
And, you want to win 2 out of 3 rounds. And you and your opponent both start with 10 cards, and you go until you both pass. You can pass at any point, but once both people have passed, all the unit power totals are added up, and whoever's winning, they win that round.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So there are some instances where maybe you want to, let an opponent play a lot of powerful stuff early on, and you surrender that one early so you can beat them in the later ones. But they're cards with different abilities. Like if you play 2 of these, then they both get double the power and stuff like that. Or they're weather effects where it's like all close combat units, all their power is reduced to 1. So then it becomes a matter of who's played more of the close combat cards.
Right.
Like, will have the advantage in that front. So and you start with like a deck, and as you beat people through the game, you gain more cards.
That's what I was wondering, if it was deck building or if it was like a set deck period. Okay.
Yeah, so there are 4 different like factions that you can choose, and you just start with one of the factions. And so like some merchants will sell cards, or you can win them from players. So it's a very slow progression of building your deck.
That's addicting, though. I could see that already.
Oh yeah, and you can also you gamble too. So if you're short on funds and you feel confident in your Gwent game,
oh man,
you run people out of town.
I'm lucky that I'm not playing this game already right now, because I would just get super into that.
It's dope.
That
Gwent
sounds
Manager,
awesome.
2K19.
I know. I'm gonna have to try. I think I've already got like 20 hours into that, and
the Switch version, you mean?
Yeah. Jesus.
Crazy. That sounds pretty cool though. Like, especially just like for something that's just baked into a game that already has like
plenty of game.
Yeah, tons of apparently rewarding side quests and stuff like that. That's pretty cool that there's like a full-fledged card game in there. And pretty cool. I didn't know about the physical like release of the card game itself. That's pretty cool.
That sounds amazing, honestly.
Well, I've talked plenty, so
yeah, enough.
Fuck me talking.
Enough from DJ. Enough from DJ. Well, I guess that no real transition here other than I was playing this last week myself. But I've been following up and just playing some more Eagle Island this week, which is a 2D side-scrolling platformer roguelike. Again, I talked about it last week. The combat mechanics are just feeling really cool. I beat the 3rd level last night, maybe 2 nights ago.
Okay.
And then there was kind of like a little cutscene that like it was almost feeling like, I knew it was too good to be true, but it was like feeling like, I'm leading up to beat the game here. But it was like a little cutscene to like, oh no, now the game's like open wide, It seems like that, that was the 3rd level, I think I said. And it looks like, at least based on like, you have like your little monster log and all that stuff, like it looks like there's going to be 10 levels, which is pretty cool.
Okay.
Again, all the levels are procedurally generated. There's kind of like this general overworld map that you unlock as you go. And again, you get like attacked. You have this like boss battle with this eagle that it feels like this is the final boss, and it then drops you off in a different area of the overworld map that you couldn't have accessed before. At least not with the abilities that you have at the moment.
Nice.
Or that I have at the moment.
Roughly how many hours do you think you're in the world, the third world or whatever?
I'm probably not third world, but like I'm in the new part of the overworld. I just beat the third level, so I'm playing the fourth level now.
Gotcha.
And each level itself just has like new variations on either similar enemies or just brand new enemies themselves who have like new attack patterns, or like there's been 3 different levels so far that have had these like mushroom enemies. That some of them are just mushroom enemies, nothing to them. Some of them shoot out these like I don't know if they're electric or ice beams, like a little bit off to the side. And then these new ones in the new zone I'm in shoot like a full, like, circular radius of like poisonous gas out from them.
Yeah.
So there's like, they just kind of like evolve and get tougher. And again, the combat mechanics evolve. You just like have this owl character that you can throw at enemies. And you can like stop in midair and then aim in any of the like 8, directions. What is that called? That 8 directional shooting? Is it just 8 directional?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if there's a term for that or not, but whatever.
Octo-directional.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say, but it's like, no, that's not right.
But whatever, you know what I mean.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, but you have like, you can freeze in midair for a second or two and like aim your shots, and then every time you hit an enemy, you can combo that into multiple enemies, and you can quick fire them. As long as you're hitting enemies, you can like keep firing the owl, your little like owl character, and you get different perks and all that. I talked about all this last week. But yeah, I'm really having a lot of fun. It's got like the UI design and all that stuff. Like everything feels really tactile. All the little power-ups you get are like these little like stone coins or something. And they like, when you select them, they like kind of do a little like flip into your little like bar up at the top, or the little slot that's open in the top, and like make like just a real like satisfying like sound, I don't know. It's just satisfying to kind of look through all like the monster logs and like look through all the levels. Again, if I think I mentioned the comparison to Moonlighter last week too, and it just feels like really well polished in that regard. Like everything feels like the world feels very, I don't want to say lived in, but like it just feels very like tactile. Nice. Everything you do feels very tactile. Like the movement still takes a little getting used to. Some of like the swimming stuff feels a little weird. Like the third level, for example, is like kind of on like a coastline, and I don't know if maybe you get like an ability later on in the game to swim like under the water. You can swim on the surface.
Yeah.
And you can sometimes like jump if it's shallow enough. You can like jump from a really high ledge and land down in the water and go far enough down where you can open one of these chests that's beneath the water. But sometimes they're just way too deep. There's no way you could get to them without being able to swim down there. But I don't know if that's just procedural generation or what the deal is, but you can open these chests. Some of them are free and just have like coins or seeds, and then some of them you can open with your seeds, and they give you different power-ups, which again I talked about last week. But one thing that I noticed is like the seed chests, like they will go up in price only as you open them. So like if I see a chest that I can open that costs 20 seeds to open, if I don't open that chest, the next time I come across a seed chest, it will also cost 20. But then if I open that one, then the next one will cost a little bit more. Like it keeps going up exponentially as you open them.
Right.
But just like as an overall price, if that makes sense. At least I think. I feel like I've noticed that a few times. But yeah, just really well designed, really well made, a lot of attention to detail.
Nice.
Still noticing a few of those small little glitches and bugs, but nothing game breaking or anything like that. The levels are just like 10, 15 minutes long. It's like the perfect, again, I know I said this about Membrane too, but like just pick up and play a few. But this one, I seem like I play 2-3 runs and then I turn it off, and like within 5 or 10 minutes, I'm booting this game right back up and I'm playing another run.
Nice.
And I'm really, you get different power ups. I just got like a new ice power up. I think I mentioned I had a lightning like combo power up before that like chains through enemies. And then I also have like a fire, like kind of bomb power up.
Cool.
So that the owl just kind of turns into like a different color owl, and then it has new abilities. But it's pretty cool. Yeah, I really like this game a lot. It's a really fun, and there's different like rogue modes. The game itself, like I said, it's procedurally generated, or you can pick like the official I forget what they call it, some kind of official mode where it'll have the map will be laid out the same every time you play each level. So not only will the overworld be the same, because I think that's the same no matter what, but then each level that you enter will also, when you're playing the official mode, be the same instead of being procedurally generated.
I see. So they actually do have developed, like, this is the levels for the official game, not just the procedurally generated levels.
Yeah, and I would wager that the procedurally generated levels are all like, the rooms are individually designed and then they're just procedurally put together.
Oh, okay.
I don't think but maybe they're procedurally generating where the chests are located or the enemies are located and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, really having a good time. I really like the, again, the risk reward of like, you can get, if you kill 4 enemies in a combo or more, you get the heart piece. So if you've taken a couple hits, you're like, well, I got to go for this combo, but it's obviously a little riskier to go for that combo. So just really having a lot of fun. I'm sucked in. I'm definitely going to be playing this one for a while. So just like DJ with The Witcher, I'm probably not going to update it constantly.
Yeah.
But I'm really happy that I have a game. Like I said, I'm only on the 4th level of what appears to be 10.
Nice.
And I'm really excited to see that this game's got some meat on the bones. Like, even if it is just like, it's not that different from like Dead Cells, other than like you're not getting like you're not unlocking all these new abilities and perks like by buying into them or anything like that.
Right.
But like, every zone has like different enemy types and different enemy patterns that you have to learn and different ways to exploit them and all that. It's not that different than a lot of these roguelites, but just the combat's really satisfying. And it is a little slippery on the movement, but I'm used to it, and it does feel good to move around. I love like the kind of bouncy feel of the jump and stuff.
Yeah, at least if it's slippery, does it seem like it has a good sense of momentum?
It does, yeah. It's just like it. Sometimes, I like in games like I mentioned before, like Mario, where you can kind of like tweak your jump in midair, like back and forth.
Right.
Where like this game, once you're jumping to the right, like you're jumping to the right. It's not like Ghouls and Ghosts or whatever, where it's like a predetermined arc. You definitely can hang back a little or pull back a little, but you're not going to be able to change direction in the air or like go back to the ledge that you jumped off. But you can kind of like use that freeze mechanic, like you can jump in midair and then go to attack and freeze, but then go back in the opposite direction, but not with as much momentum as you had on the upward arc. But you can kind of at least tweak your jump, or like not jump into a pit, or I guess the pits don't really harm you in this game, but like into some like, harmful substance or whatever,
right?
Some lava or something like that. But just all the worlds are nice and diverse, and the enemies, again, could maybe be a little more diverse. Like I said, there's like 3 versions of a mushroom with just different abilities and stuff, but they're all still different attack patterns and different things you have to learn. And it's just really addictive. It's my new roguelike obsession here. So
nice. Excited
to keep playing more of that.
You always got to have one going.
Yeah. You know me. Well, actually, speaking of, real quick, I'll just talk about another roguelite real quick that I've been playing and revisiting. I haven't played much of this game in quite a while, but for whatever reason, I started picking it up again recently. And that's TumbleSeed. And this is kind of like are either of you guys familiar? I know DJ and I played a little of the 2-player mode, which is something that was patched in, not recently, but patched in after the release. But is that something you had played or seen before, DJ or Randall?
I'd only played that little bit with you. I heard it's hard as fuck.
Yeah.
I know this was a pretty early on game, and I know, Kevin, you had said that some folks from Chicago helped develop this game, and I think I bought it the first time it went on sale, like way back in the day, and I did play it a bit then, but it's been a little bit.
Yeah, I picked it up, I think back then as well. The girl I was dating at the time, I can't remember the connection, like how she knew one of the people who knew someone. Somehow she mentioned, like she brought up the game. Oh, I know some people who worked on this game. Have you ever heard of it? And I checked it out. I was like, oh, this actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I picked it up. I saw it was on the Switch. And again, it was a pretty early, like indie downloadable title on the Switch.
Yeah.
So I scooped it up. It has like a really clean, like aesthetic, not too dissimilar to like Unexplored that we talked about before, but definitely way more like bright and colorful. And it's all like kind of plants and really like geometric, but more in like everything's like kind of spherical. But it's kind of like a giant, like a labyrinth or like pachinko machine. You're like controlling this bar. You have this like your little TumbleSeed character that you can get all these different power-ups and abilities. You start off with like 3 or 4 different ones. Like you have like your checkpoint seed. I forget what they're all called, but like if you have this activated, as you roll over these little like flower pads, and you're trying to like, I guess I should try to explain. You're trying to like climb upwards, and you're moving a bar at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah.
And you're controlling that with the left and right joysticks. So you're moving them either up or down to move either the left or right side of the bar up or down. So if you're pushing them both upwards, almost like Katamari or something, like not exactly the same, but like if you're moving them both upwards, you're going like straight up.
Right.
If you move them both down, you're going straight down. And if you can move them on an angle, so you can roll like, on a downward 45-degree angle or pick up some speed, or it's really tough to find.
It's tricky. Yeah.
Yeah. And you can get all these different power-ups, but yeah, you start with a few different ones. Like you have your checkpoint where you can, like, if you roll over these little flower petals and you have enough crystals to pay for it, which you collect from killing enemies or just collecting on the map, or using the crystal seed, which just after you roll over 3 of these flower spaces, then you get a couple of crystals. But then you can use them to either spend on either placing a checkpoint, or you can use this thorn seed or whatever it's called to like accumulate like thorns on the side of your little character that can stab enemies and kill them.
Right.
And then you can get I think there's one other there's a heart seed that you can, like, after you roll over 4 of those pads, you can gain another health point. And there's all different, like, you can pick up all these different crazy abilities, but it does start to get a little combat focused, or I don't want to say combat focused, but you really, like, there's enemies swarming you, and you feel pretty defenseless. No matter what power-ups you have, no matter how stacked up you feel, and you can pick one perk at the beginning of each game that you unlock by, completing different challenges. Like, some of them are, you don't lose a health point for falling down a hole, which I typically pick, because I'm always falling down the holes, that it just like prolongs the game a little bit, so I can at least get used to it. But they have all kinds of different things, like you don't lose the thorns when you take a hit from an enemy, or you don't lose, or you like suck in nearby gems, and they're like pretty generous with that. Like they can be pretty far away. So that one I do tend to use pretty often too. So I don't have to like be weaving through all these tight corridors to pick up like the gold gems that are worth 5 or 10.
Yeah.
And you use those to buy different power-ups and different ability. I forget if you can get abilities, but you definitely use them to buy different like power-ups at the shops at like the checkpoints. And there's like 4 different areas of the mountain that you have to climb, and then at the end you can do the adventure, which is progressing through all 4 of those regions, which are 2 different areas each. Which this game, I can't even beat this last like winter area, which is what I've been trying to tackle again lately. But it does, for whatever reason, despite being so difficult, it just has a really like relaxing vibe to it. The art style and the music and everything about it. Like when I do kind of want to zen out with a difficult game, it is one that I kind of want to go back to. And again, I kind of wanted to check out this 2-player mode, so DJ and I checked that out a little bit, just a few minutes actually before we recorded the podcast today. So what did you think of that so far? It was my first time playing it as well. So.
It was interesting because, we were talking beforehand, we were expecting it to be some sort of like, split screen race type of situation.
Yeah, like as we mentioned before, you're climbing the mountain in the main game. So we thought it would just be a race to the top.
But it ended up being kind of like a King of the Hill type situation where, a zone of the screen would highlight, and, you want to be the only person in there, but there'd be all these holes that you could knock the other character into, and power-ups you could get to just kill them. So it was interesting take. It was more like a battle mode almost.
Yeah, and I think it is called like 2-player battle is actually what the mode is called.
They stole that from me.
But I don't see myself playing that mode a ton.
No.
But definitely an interesting game. I do think the difficulty balance keeps me from giving this a strong recommendation.
Yeah,
it's
tough,
definitely not for everyone, and it has such like an inviting, like warm style to it. You see it, it's all cheerful and colorful.
Yeah.
And it just feels like, but this seems fun. It looks kind of like Loco Roco style or Patapon, or like that real like just real cheerful vibe. And it's definitely the game. Well, I was ready to chuck my controller through the screen, and I wasn't even invested in the run, but it can just be like, what the fuck? Like I felt like I was having a good run, and now all of a sudden I'm just dead. So
yeah, you have to be tuned in if you're going to be successful. At least in my experience playing this around launch, it was like, man, I can't just be chilled out playing this. I got to be in this to win this.
Yeah, and I will say this, I don't know for whatever reason, but it does feel a little more tactile playing in handheld mode, just because it really feels like you are moving, like the joysticks are moving like those bars. Like
I could see that.
It for whatever reason, I found myself playing better whenever I played in handheld mode, and maybe it was just helping me get into the zone more.
Right.
But I like we've mentioned before, I don't know if I give this one a strong, hard recommendation. But if you're into super tough games and the style speaks to you, or if you're I don't know, if you're into like these kind of labyrinth, it's definitely unique. It's
super
very
unique.
Very, I've never played anything quite like it.
No.
So I don't regret having bought it, and I don't regret the time I've played it. So I don't know why I don't give it a strong recommendation, but it's just a little too tough, I think. And I like hard games. You know, I really like hard games, and I don't even mind if I never beat them, but it just, when it comes to the combat, it feels like you don't have enough control over your character.
Yeah.
To be able to maneuver around and take out these enemies.
I have a feeling that's probably what it is. You don't really have direct control over your avatar. You're kind of controlling the thing underneath, like like Monkey Ball or something. Like, you're controlling the board underneath more than you are the character.
Yeah, and you're not even, a lot of the power-ups you get, like, you're not even, you can't, like, hit fire to fire, like they're on a timer.
Yeah.
Or you have to, like, re-roll over that same, like, flower pad that you rolled over before to activate the power-up, to then activate, like, the cannon that shoots out.
Yeah.
Or activate the ability or whatever it might be. So there are some cool abilities that, like, there's like a flood seed that will like fill like any of the holes on the screen with water. So then you can just roll right over those. Like, you don't have to worry about those.
Oh, that's cool.
Falling through. So especially if you don't have that buff equipped, that, you know, health is not in a consideration on falling down the holes. That's like a super important power up to have. And, you know,
Right.
Each power up costs different gems and this and that. But yeah, a fun game and a definite soft recommendation if this is something that's up your alley, but definitely not for everyone, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's fair.
But I know you've been playing a couple shooters this week, Randall, and I've tag teamed one of those with you, but feel free to fire off on either one. I'll join you on the former or the latter.
Let's talk some Lightening Force, aka Thunder Force 4, which came out originally on Sega Genesis, and M2, the godlike developers and porters of all things retro, especially for Sega, made this one of the more recent Sega Ages releases. And so it's been on Switch as of kind of end of last year. It had recently gone on sale for half price, so I finally picked it up because, you know, why not have it on the Switch? I actually have it on my Genesis too. But I'm like, yeah, they added a couple of things here, and the price is good enough that I want it easily available as another pretty high quality shmup. So been enjoying that. It's hard as hell. I'll say that right from the get.
Yeah, it is. I picked this up as well, and it is like kicking my ass, man. It is really tough. And it is worth noting that it is cool that you get the not only Lightning Force, and I think you mentioned, or maybe you didn't, but it also is Thunder Force 4, which is the Japanese version of the game, or the Mega Drive version. And it's cool that it has both of those. But also, I think this is a relatively rare-ish Genesis game. Like, it goes for a pretty penny.
Yeah, it's not cheap on Genesis, that's for sure.
Yeah, to scoop it up for $8 or $4 or whatever, you know, not a bad price at all. So,
and like, really, honestly, you know, if you don't care about having physical retro cartridges, this is probably the best way to play this game in 2019, honestly. So yeah, it's nice that way too. Besides that, M2 is always really good about making sure you're getting like pixel perfect emulation. You know, there's not going to be any issues with lag. They tend to add extra features in when they're porting games over. In this case, they didn't do quite as much as they did for, say, like Sonic the Hedgehog, where like in Sonic they added the the power up spin dash from like Sonic 2 onward into the original Sonic the Hedgehog, which is awesome.
Oh, cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
Which completely changes that game, and that's something you can toggle on or off if you want to play Sonic 1 like it was before, or if you want to play with, with obviously a superior way of making that game even better. But in Lightening Force, you don't have anything quite on that level gameplay-wise, but they do things like you can reduce the processing delay where instead of emulating the Sega Genesis exactly, it like buffs it up a little bit where you're not getting the chugging of the frame
I was wondering
rate.
about that because I was getting some serious slowdown on one of the bosses, and I was like, what the hell? So good to know that. I was wondering because I saw that processing delay setting and I wasn't sure what that was all about. So
yep, that's what that is.
Good to know that that's like, hey, you want it to feel exactly like you remember it feeling?
Right.
Cool. And if you want it to feel a little smoother, turn that off.
Totally, because there's going to be purists, for good reason, that want to play it just as it was on a cartridge, and I totally get that, but it's nice to have the option, which I did, to turn off that processing delay where, now it's buttery smooth. And there's an audio cutout thing where originally on the Genesis, we got limited sound channels in the processing. So when some like sound effect comes in, it might cut out some of the soundtrack. And now with this new version, you can toggle something where now it'll just play without cutting out the soundtrack, which is cool. I appreciate stuff like that.
That's super awesome. Yeah.
How is that soundtrack?
It's pretty good. It definitely is. I don't think it's like super duper standout, but I think it's good presentation wise of actiony shmup game.
It fits the bill. It gets you in the zone for playing some shooters. Yeah.
It's not something I'm going to seek out necessarily outside of the game, but I think it definitely does its job.
Nice.
Yeah, there's some cool mechanics in this game. Like you start out with like 2 main guns. That are pretty basic, and you have up to 5 different slots that are like all different weapon types that you kind of unlock as you go. Sometimes when you die, you lose them. Sometimes you keep them. I haven't really figured out why or what the rhyme or reason is to that.
Yeah.
But you can also power up those weapons, get them to a second tier. And then you can also, my favorite feature about this game is the speed control.
Yeah.
And you can go from like, you start at 50% speed and there's like a little meter at the top. And if you hit the speed button, you can go from 25 to 50 to 75 to 100.
Yep.
And actually, if you hold it down, you can actually fine tune it to any individual percent between that.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Like it'll just keep climbing slowly as you hold it down 1% at a time.
Oh, I didn't.
Like, I mean, it would be tough to like get it. Oh, if I wanted exactly at 63, and but whatever. It's like it's not that precise. Right. That you're going to notice that much of a difference. But it's pretty cool for like, hey, I'm in like a tight corridor section of this level. Like it really makes use of that because some of these levels are like, it's a horizontal scroller, but you are actually able to move like up and down higher than like the individual screen presents.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like 2 to 3 screen lengths vertically that you can move around in, which is pretty crazy and still pretty unique for shmups to this day, I would say.
Definitely very unique. I will say a little bit, I would say it causes a little bit of issues in the design. Like sometimes it feels like you can definitely, I'm on the path that just has no enemies right here. Or like there's ways to kind of avoid it, but maybe that's, maybe that's what they're going for. Hey, you can kind of cheat the game here if you're not going for points and you just want to go, avoid the fight. Right. Until you have to, or, I'm sure everything was intentional. So
yeah. And I think the idea is it's supposed to be more like a dog fight, like you're evading around and you're, going behind them and in front of them and switching up your gun between the one that shoots behind you to what shoots in front of you and kind of like moving back and forth with the boss or the individual enemies and kind of fighting it out until somebody wins, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. There was, I think the gun's called like Freeway.
Yeah.
Or something like that, which is really cool. Like whatever direction you're traveling in, the gun is then shooting kind of like a spread shot in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Which is great for like one of the levels that I picked.
Yeah.
Which are kind of presented at the very beginning. You can pick out of one of 4 levels and like you almost set up like a path you want to take. Okay,
you can set the order.
Level
which
1,
is
2,
really
3.
Cool.
Yeah, I thought that was a neat little feature, almost like a Mega Man, but like predetermined, like you're picking all 4 of them right at the beginning.
Yeah.
The order you want to do them in, making like a playlist.
Yeah.
But I found this game to be, I forgot the point I was even going to make, but yeah, I've been having a lot of fun. I haven't played enough to really weigh in and, dig in deep, but I'm excited to play more.
Yeah, I kept getting my ass kicked by this game. Apparently there's what's called a kids mode that they've added. M2 is added in this port where like you keep your fully upgraded weapons even when you die, which I think would be quite useful. So,
yeah, okay. That's cool. That would help out a lot.
Yeah, because as best I tried, and for this game and the next game I'll talk about, I even pulled out my my Hori arcade stick just to can I be better at these games if I got this arcade stick going instead? And that helped a little bit, but boy, yeah, it's tough going. But still glad to own it. It also has online leaderboards, which is cool. This game has some really nice graphics, some really cool parallax scrolling effects, which is pretty awesome. It was a late Genesis game, so it still shines to this day, I think, visually.
Yeah, it looks good. It can be a little distracting at times.
Yeah.
Some of like the one level that has like the sandstorm effect can be a little bit kind of like make the level look a little blurry or a little just a little obstructed.
Yeah.
And I do, as much as M2, like they did a great job on this, but I do think some of the design or some of the menus and stuff are a little unintuitive. Like,
yeah,
if you want to play like the actual like ranked mode, like you have to be playing the Japanese Thunder Force 4.
Oh yeah.
To get like that, like the casual mode is like the Lightening Force for whatever reason. Like, it just seems a little like it tells you all this stuff, but just the way it's presented is a little.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just a little bit clunky, I guess. It's a little unintuitive, at least to me.
Yeah, that's like the kind of emulator level UI stuff is a little ugly too. They could have done a little better job.
It looks like really like arcadey.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. I mean, it's trying to evoke some of that era of gaming, but they're bringing that back. But it feels, I don't know, it just feels a little disjointed from the package itself.
Yeah, the actual game is so pretty though. Like full kudos there.
Yeah, it looks great. Feels great. Plays great. The speed control feels awesome.
Yeah,
excited to play more.
From one arcade-ish game to another, I also played some Space Dave, which is another game that came out early on in 2018, still kind of before a lot of other indie things were available on Switch. I bought this as soon as it came out because, and I think Choice Provisions as a developer, they made Woe Dave on 3DS, and Woe Dave was more like take like a bubble bobble type of single screen layout, and you're kind of collecting coins and throwing these eggs and defeating all the enemies on this single screen and then moving on. Whereas Space Dave is kind of a Space Invaders ish clone. But visually more similar to something like Space Invaders Extreme, which came out on DS. And I think they ended up porting that to like Xbox 360, I want to say. But more kind of like vibrant, chunky pixel graphics.
Like pretty big pixels.
Yeah,
I've played
super big pixels. Too. Yeah. Very, very, very arcadey. And you are Dave or an assortment of other like 8 different characters you can choose from. It's all just like visual palette swap stuff. But there's even like, I think, what's his name? Commander Video or whatever from, what's his?
The Bit Trip
games.
The
Bit Trip games, stuff like that. That you can play as your avatar, but they all play the same. And ultimately you're kind of shooting your laser up in the air to take out these, patterns of enemies that are coming at you in the Space Invaders ways. Either they're kind of clumped together and moving, kind of like they're dancing up in the air, or, creating like a circle pattern. And a key part of this game that's different, though, is below you, there's like 9 different tiles. And the enemies, if they get all the way down and touch a tile, will basically erase that tile and turn it to lava. And you can no longer step on that tile. So over time, if you're not shooting enemies out of the air, they're taking out the floor underneath of you. And then, you can only jump and shoot. So if you're not,
I was gonna say, we probably should mention that you're like platforming around and like jumping, like you're controlling a character. I don't know if we mentioned that before, but
you are controlling a character, jumping around, shooting, and collecting coins for a high score ultimately. But you're realistically, you're just trying to survive as long as you can, because again, this game is hard.
Very,
very, very hard. And it's very tough to keep all of your tiles below you active as floor. As you take out certain enemies, it'll turn into this like kind of red dead version of an enemy that you can throw into the lava, and that'll recreate like the tile that you can step on again. And you have to do that twice to turn it back into like a fully formed tile, because as you clear out a wave of enemies, there'll be coins on top of every tile, 5 coins instead of the 1 you're getting per enemy. And that's really good because that's, increasing your coins, which is your high score that you end your run with. So as many coins as you can get, the better. But again, surviving is difficult. I've only ever made it like 3/4 through the second level to give you any indication of how difficult this game is.
I mean, I laugh, but I haven't made it much further, if any further. It's been a long time since I played, but yeah, I've like second or third level at best, like just overwhelmed even on the first level. Sometimes. Like I haven't played much. I've played maybe an hour at the most, maybe a half hour.
Yeah,
but pretty fun so far. I definitely, like you said, I've liked what these guys have done in the past with the runner stuff, or just the bit trip stuff in general. Not even specifically the runner stuff.
I think it might be a different developer there.
I thought it was the same guys. No, or the same team.
I don't know that that's the case. I think they might have just shared some of the indie characters.
Oh man, I feel like an idiot.
It's all right. You can just cut that part out.
Yeah, I'm leaving it in.
Oh,
Screw
jeez. No, but yeah, really tough. And another reason why I pulled out my arcade stick, because your shoot button, if you hold it down, it does kind of shoot like one laser after the other, but it doesn't shoot as fast as you'd like tapping it rapidly. But like, and that's really, honestly, if you're going to survive, you need to be shooting as fast as you possibly can to take out waves of enemies. So I'm like, all right, time to pull out the Hori arcade stick that's got the turbo functionality. It took me a while to figure that out. Once I got that going, it did get more playable. I got a little bit further, but even still couldn't get past the second level, even on the easy peasy mode, which is what they call it. Like, damn, man, like just kicked my ass.
All right, so Randall, I hate to break to you, man, I'm not wrong here.
Oh, you're not wrong. No, it is.
They
choice
did them
provisions.
all.
Yeah,
Bit Trip Runner, Runner 2, Runner 3, Bit Trip Beat, Whoa Dave. They made them all, man.
Yeah, you're right. It's one of their mini versions of choice provisions. You're right.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Because I have not I've come to really not like those runner games. I liked the first one.
Yeah,
but they're programmed in a way that like I am a musician, to some degree, but like so they time so it's not, you're not pressing the buttons at the time that you're like in sync with the beat. You're actually clearing the obstacle in sync with the beat.
Yeah.
So like if there's a little hurdle you have to jump over, or a gap, the gap is what's in time with the music and not when you're actually pressing the jump button.
Oh yeah.
And it drives me crazy. That's like, that is so poorly like the whole point of a rhythm game. And like you can get into the zone with it enough, and it's like, I got a decent chunk of the way through that game, and it definitely is. The levels are well designed. They're fun. Like for an auto runner type game, it's addictive. It does it well. But just like if they just tweaked it by however many fractions of a second that it would take to like sync it up with like, this is when you're pushing the button, not when you're clearing the obstacle.
Yeah.
That would just make the game instant, it wouldn't work for everything. They wouldn't be able to just make that shift, because like some of them you're like breaking through a gate, so you have to have that timed exactly with like hitting the gate. But anyway, sorry to just go on a rant.
No, that's fine. I really do like the original Bit Trip Runner. I've got that collection on Wii, and I'll never give that up. All those
Bit Trip games. Bit Trip Beat, the very first one.
Yep.
And Bit Trip, I forget the other one I really liked a lot.
It's been a while.
I think it was Bit Trip, maybe it was just Bit Trip Runner. Maybe
that was the only one I was good at. Was Runner. Yeah, I suck at the other ones.
Yeah. They also apparently made that bad. Bubsy remake. That new Bubsy.
I'm kidding.
I was a little bummed they made like a 3DS remake of those games, but like controlling it with the stylus just made it a little bit too
not
easy
gonna-
on some of the games
Yeah.
where like the challenge was, it was part of the game.
Yeah, I was
So.
bummed with the art direction they went in. The kind of like gross out 3D.
Oh, with
Stuff.
Runner 3,
Yeah.
forget
Well,
it.
I think Runner 2 and Runner 3 both had that style, kind of.
Runner 2 went that way a little, and I
Yeah.
think Runner 3 just went all
full
in.
out,
And
yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
like a $40 game too. It's like, come on, man.
I definitely have both of those games. They're
Oh,
okay.
you're
okay.
You're a sucker.
They're not
man.
that.
I didn't know.
They're honestly not that bad. They're not that bad.
No, I think I played the demo for Runner 3 and it was
Yeah.
pretty fun. So I'm just not into the art style.
Yeah.
And again, that timing issue was a big thing with me. But
Yeah, and
Because
again,
he's a
these-
musician.
Yeah.
I can play a riff or two.
No, but even with the 3D stuff, when it went polygonal, I felt like it was even harder to gauge some of that like rhythm stuff compared to just
they had all these like wacky animations and
Yeah.
stuff. It just made it a little harder to time stuff. I agree.
yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
But
give me
anyways,
the
not to
give me
just-
the chunky pixel art, just like Space Dave.
Yeah, I would say they're
Bringing
more
it back.
at home
Yeah.
with the Space Dave stuff. I definitely feel like this is a welcome return to form. Again, not that it's a brand new game or anything, but
I like Space
I
Dave's
enjoyed
art
what I
direction
played so
too,
far.
though. It's cute. I like
yeah,
it.
it's
got
nice,
charm.
and it does have a 2-player mode as well. Correct?
It
Yeah.
does. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to try that. But yeah,
I
it
want to say
does.
we've played it before, right, DJ? It's like that game where you're like jumping over the little lava gaps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've only played like a round or two, but
Yeah.
definitely a fun game and one that I picked up cheap. I think it's only $10. I'm sure I grabbed it on sale probably, but
Yeah.
definitely one to keep your eyes peeled for, especially if you like playing some 2-player, just high score chasing type stuff. And those leaderboards, again, it should go without saying, but not every game has them. So it's
Yep.
cool to know that this game's got them. So,
Yep. Absolutely.
but no real transition here. But I know DJ, you've been playing one other game this week.
That's good of enough transition.
Good enough for me.
Yeah, I recently picked up the game Nefarious on Switch. And in that game, it's kind of like a 2D platformer game where you are this character Crow, who is actually the villain of the world. And your
cool.
your quest is to go through all the kingdoms and kidnap all the princesses and defeat the heroes from each kingdom. So it's kind of a cool take on the genre.
Yeah.
And like the levels are structured, so it's basically like you're entering the kingdom, you reach the princess and get some sort of new ability based on where she's from. Like you're in a bee kingdom, and when you get the bee princess, you get like your jump is extra high or stuff like that.
Like Metroidvania style, like getting new abilities to get further in the map, or like just new power-ups like Mega Man style?
To get further in the map, but just on that map.
Okay.
And then the last part is, the hero tries to stop you and you have a boss battle with them. But it's cool because, you take the role of the enemy usually takes, where like you're the one controlling this big robot while, your enemy is the little guy running around the screen trying to outwit you, like trying to go faster than you. So
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
So I really liked, the originality, and like even each fight is fairly different. Like you're in a different kind of robot thing, any type of battle, or there's even one battle where they switched it to turn-based combat. Like they really implement a lot of different types of fighting styles to switch it up, which I thought was really cool. And, even just like the edited ability you get from getting a princess is, a cool way to mix up the levels. But maybe this is, personal preference, but I wasn't a big fan of how it controlled.
This is like a 2D side scroll.
Yeah. And so, well, let's start with your attacks. So your standard attack is just like a punch, which has a little bit of distance, not much. And you also you start with grenade launchers, and you can switch what your secondary attack is to like other like explosive based stuff. I just stuck with the standard grenade launcher. But so it's kind of like twin sticky, like you're aiming like where your punch is going to go or where you're going to lob the grenades. It's not like a set, direction. So that I didn't find that controlled super well for me, or maybe I was just bad at it. But
doubtful knowing you.
Well, come on. Well, it was also just really tough to deal with ranged enemies because the grenade lob like it's not a super accurate attack, especially if they're moving around. And like you don't have like unlimited use of it. You get like 3 shots that like will regenerate over time. They'll have a small cooldown, but some enemies were just hard to deal with because I didn't feel like the aiming or the attacks were set up well to deal with them.
Yeah, you didn't have the proper means to dispatch them. Yeah.
And additionally, with regards to the platforming, like you're both like pretty floaty and pretty slippery.
Oh boy.
Oh man. That's 7 deadly sins.
Yeah. And if you, and also maybe this is just me, it felt like there was like maybe a slight delay with like jumps and stuff like that. So it got really frustrating when I was in some sections where, if you fall down a pit, it's an instant death. You go back to a checkpoint. So I definitely went through some areas just like it was just way too hard. Like I just had to keep retrying them. I also like if you're in midair and if you're anywhere and an enemy hits you, get knocked back. So if you're trying to make a jump and you get shot, like just another thing working against you from making that jump. Like I fell in so many gaps, you guys.
Oh God.
But
that's
I think, but that's the thing, like floaty controls aren't really my thing, but that's maybe just a personal preference.
I don't think so. I've never heard anybody say, "Oh, I love these floaty controls."
I'm trying to be diplomatic about
it. No one's ever said this game's got great floaty controls.
Yeah, right, man.
Hey. You want to really get into some?
We'll save it for another time.
I like Rayman.
All right,
we'll save our Rayman discussion for another time. It's not terrible, but we'll save it for another time.
See how he got his shot in.
Well, no, I just want to make sure we're not just shitting on Rayman.
No,
I just want to make sure that's clear.
Rayman.
I want to make sure I'm clear. I'm not shitting on Rayman. It's just we'll talk about it later.
Rayman Legends is an objectively good game. Continue.
Yeah. Okay.
Bringing it back to Nefarious. So I would say, like, that first third of the level before you even reach the princess was my least favorite part of the levels. But once I reached the princess, got a new ability and reached the boss battle at the end, like there's enough variety in there that kept me interested. And I'd say levels were like 10 to 15 minutes long, and there's maybe like 10-ish levels, so it's not a super long game. So I don't know, like it kept me compelled to see it through to the end.
Oh, that's good.
Did you finish it?
I had noticed.
I did. They make it clear that like there's maybe more you can do after, but I kind of just left it there.
You're not going to messenger it up? Play it again right away.
We'll see.
No, don't feel compelled, man. Yeah. They try to sucker you in, but
I'm a sucker for that, man.
I had noticed some complaints before about the frame rate of this game. Is that something that you had noticed, or something that maybe they had fixed by the time you'd played it?
It might not be super fair for me to evaluate that. I don't think I have a super keen eye for that kind of stuff, but I didn't notice anything.
But the fact that it didn't hinder your experience in any way is worth
right.
Yeah.
At least, it didn't get in the way.
Right.
Like things happen. Like I said, there's little like glitches and glitch is maybe too strong of a term, but like little things that happen when I'm playing Eagle Island, but it's never been anything where I'm like, oh man, I had to turn the game off. And even if I restart the game, I don't give a shit.
Right.
As long as it doesn't happen again.
Stink.
Well, I just like it. I just get so frustrated. I get really frustrated when people like make it a point to talk about that in like a review of a game. Like if it didn't affect your enjoyment of the game,
right,
then it's not worth mentioning.
Yeah.
Period. It's just not. So
game development is very complex as is.
It's just like it's just like you got a dog on a game just to dog on it for something. Like there's probably something else you could. I don't know. I just like if it doesn't actually like skip out to where I'm dying because the frame rate skipped or something like that. Like it's just really not worth mentioning to me.
Yeah.
So, anyways, thanks for bringing it up, TJ.
That was my fault.
No, I really am a villain.
No,
I was trying to clear the air because I hadn't heard him say that, but a lot of people online were mentioning that. So just wanted to see where we were at in 2019.
Yeah, I appreciate the research, Randall.
Yeah, you're always on top of that, always with the knowledge.
That's what I do.
But you got anything else for Nefarious, DJ?
Nah, I think I covered it all. But Thanks for asking.
I always got to be polite. Pursuing politeness.
Oh, there you go. I could use a bit of that.
Anyways. We got one more game to talk about here. DJ and I fired it up real quick. There's a new update for a game that we both picked up on our Switches a while ago for, I think, another game that just goes on sale all the time. I think we both picked it up for $1. Astro Bears Party. There's a new version, and it's not. They say it's an update, but you actually have to download a new game. And it's just called Astro Bears. It's not a party anymore. But but if you just download Astro Bears, for me it was free. I think it said the normal price was $7.99, but since it was an update for me, it was free. And it just adds a couple new modes, a few new characters to pick from, just a couple new different like gameplay settings. Nothing crazy. And this is like. You play as these different bears that are in space, and it's kind of like these Super Mario Galaxy style planets. Nothing as detailed as that, but like they're like these little tiny planetoids. There's a few different sizes, and you run around them, and there's essentially like your jetpack releases like a snake behind it that is like either infinitely or now in this new update there's a different finite setting that will keep that at like a specific length.
Yeah.
But basically that'll trail behind you, and every time you can basically just either jump or do like a speed dash, and those are the only two choices you have, and then you can just steal your character. And yeah, you can hover as you jump with your jetpack that has like a limited amount of fuel. Each character has like, different speed, different turning, different jetpack fuel, and I think different jetpack regeneration.
Yeah.
I think those are the 4 stats.
Yep.
And then you basically just have to avoid running into your own, like trail behind you or your, opponent's trail. And then there's like a party mode that has up to 2 to 4 players. There's the competitive mode, which is new to this version that DJ and I played, which is just 2 players. And then there's also just like what was it called? Like jetfish hunting or some kind of, fish hunting. And they're just these like you just play either single player or cooperatively, 2 players. To just try to hunt down, and again, not run into each other's like jet streams or each other, and collect these little jetfish that just kind of randomly, it's just high score chasing pretty much in that mode. But a pretty cool, just simple party game again for $7 or for the $1 we paid for it. I've already had enough sittings with this game. Like again, I think I mentioned before, but just playing this game after like a show or after going out for the night, or it's definitely been a game that we've booted up. Like if you know how to use a joystick and hit a couple of buttons,
simple.
It's as simple as it gets. If you've ever played a video game,
if you ever played Snake on your old school phone,
maybe you got to have a little bit of like a depth perception.
Yeah.
You got to have a little bit of adeptness with a joystick, I guess. But like, we take that for granted. I feel like just because we play a lot of games, but like I'll sometimes show a game to someone who hasn't played one, and I'm just like, man, I this is just so simple to me. Like, how are they not getting this? But it makes sense. I've just played games all my life pretty much. So
right.
It's just second nature. But if anyone has ever played Pac-Man or just any game in an arcade for fun in any way, like this is a pretty simple game to grasp. And it's, just a clean aesthetic. They added a couple new songs. The original version had this one song that'll always play. Nothing bad, but it's definitely a game. It's a game you put on your own music in the background while you're having some people over, and it's just mindless fun, essentially.
Yeah.
Although DJ and I are looking to climb that Jetfish leaderboard here. We saw they added a leaderboard. So I think the high score currently on, as of, again, as we mentioned before, July 22nd, 102. Whatever your name is, we're coming for you.
Oh, there you go.
For you. I've got the Critter Crunch high score with our old roommate, Steve.
Do you still have that?
I haven't checked in a long time, but I mean, we had the high score by a good 2.5 million points, and that was our high score was at 9 million. So I mean, it wasn't like the we're at 400 million and we were only by a margin. It was we had it by a pretty good
crushed it.
And we just we just had a bunch of lucky combos, or I mean, not necessarily lucky, but the way that game works, you just you get the layout you get, and if the power-ups come when they come at the right time, you just kind of get lucky. But there's a lot of skill too, but it takes skill to set it up to get lucky.
Yeah.
But you need to get the right combos and the right power-ups at the right time. But I think I would be hard pressed to think that anybody could outbeat that score or outdo that score.
Yeah.
But you people with that 102 score in Astro Bears, we can beat that.
We can beat that score. We're going for 202, I think.
Oh, ooh. Plant the flag.
Just a little less than double.
Yeah, let's go for 204. Let's go for 205.
All right.
We're a little better. We're a little better than double you guys.
205 live.
Whoever. For all the cruiserweights out there, we're doing this for you.
Put all the other games to the side for next week. You guys are just going to update on Astro Bears in your attempt for a high score.
Oh, geez. We're getting off the rails here.
Good thing we're coming to a close.
Yeah, we're getting ready to wrap this up here. So yeah, next week we're gonna wrap things up, and it'll be technically the first episode of August, but it's gonna be our last episode of July, and we're gonna be talking about our game of the month, which is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
That's right.
We're gonna bring our buddy John onto the podcast. John Hines, we'll give him a last name here. He'll be on the podcast with us next week. He's also been playing Ritual of the Night, as we mentioned last week, so Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, so he'll be talking about that too. And I think him and Randall are maybe going to get into some Dragon Quest Builders 2, which definitely I have no pressure on you, Randall. I know he's just been playing a ton.
Yeah.
And I've definitely had my ear to the ground on this one now that he's been hyping it up. And I didn't realize the reviews on this game were so positive.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I definitely am super excited to hear more about and check this game out. But yeah, we'll be playing and talking about Bloodstained Curse of the Moon next week. And yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next week.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye. Call me Gwent and Tarantino.
Gwent. Sorry.
Kill me. Edit that out.
Let's just take I gotta refill my drink here. Let's take a quick break.
Yeah, I didn't hear that part
for
anyway.
A quick sec. What's that?
I didn't hear that end part anyway.
Oh, the end part of what?
That conversation that made you guys laugh.